Yeah.
Hello, this is Yoshi Pantera at the Regenerative Culture Podcast, talking with Henna Maria today, a very special person that we met at the Greater Reset, now the People's Reset in Mexico. And we're going to go deep on different conversations about medicine from the Amazon jungle all the way to activism in the streets. I would like to go deep in how to help people become aware of what's happening and how to take action in order to continue the regeneration in the world. So it's very special to have you, Henna Maria. Tell us, how are you today?
Thank you, Yoshi. Yeah, really awesome to reconnect, brother. Good to see you again. And hi to everyone that's tuning in. Great to be a part of this podcast. Yeah, I'm doing really well. I'm enjoying our new home here in Finland. So we just recently moved to a place where I have a dream that we can build also like a gathering one day. So maybe you guys will be presenting there one day. That would be my dream. You and Paula. Yeah, so
Yeah.
this is like an island actually in this old growth forest. It's a very special place. And so my husband and I, we've been looking for somewhere where we could start like a school for healing arts and also for regenerative culture. So we found this place just a couple months ago. We moved in and just settling in now. But yeah, I'm very, very grateful.
Yes, since the last time we talked in January, that was the second time we saw each other in Mexico. You were mentioning you just moved back to Finland from you were living in Spain before.
Yeah.
And what made you go back again so we can understand what's
Yeah.
important for the roots?
Right. Yeah. So I lived abroad for 12 years actually. And I've always been a seeker, and that's really what took me abroad. Is I was looking for a taste of other cultures and really get to know like humanity. What is humanity? What brings us all together? What is something that we all share? And I really got to understand a lot when I moved to Peru. So that was from 2015 to 2019. For about 5 years, we were living with my husband in Peru, and we were studying, of course. We were learning the ancient healing arts and plant medicine, but also we got to spend time with people from different tribes and indigenous people. And that really like shook me up and helped me understand that there is such a thing as original humanity. And that's actually beyond borders, beyond ethnicity. It's something that is born when people live in close connection to Mother Earth, when they have a natural life. And that it creates an environment where our souls can be cultured a certain way. So this is what I see actually what culture is. It's the environment, it's the circumstances, it's the ingredients at play which help to culture a soul, so to grow a soul. And I could see how grounded and how connected, how awake the people of the land are, the free people who live in the forest, who are self-sufficient, don't depend on any systems. And it was amazing it's like I really found what a human being is supposed to be like, I felt, living in the jungle. And I could see how all their senses were wide open, how they could see clearly with the spiritual vision things that weren't humanly possible, like animals really far away, and how they were able to read nature and the weather, and they understood the cycles of the moon and when is good to harvest and when is good to plant, and this kind of a way of life. It had a major impact on me. And then through that lens of having lived in this amazing natural environment and in this natural culture, that was the perfect then lens through which I could see how far we have come in the West, like how far away from home we are, and how we actually are living like creatures in a zoo and not even knowing what it feels like to live wild and free like these people of the land. And so that kindled this quest in me that I want to somehow help regenerate and revive this original culture in Europe. And so then we first moved then after living in Peru, we moved to Spain. We opened our own healing sanctuary there. We were there for 5 years. But then more and more I started getting this calling, like, I need to go to my motherland. I need to go to my people, my tribe, the Finns up north. And first I had a bit of resistance because, of course, you know, there's also family dynamics. There's things, you know, could be some traumas. It's easier not to face that when you're living abroad, you know. And then when you're coming back, it's like, okay, I have to I have to make peace with everything that I left behind. So that was a big process also. And then coming to accept that my people, that there's this big split actually in the north, in all like northern European countries. There's this massive drive towards technocracy. Like there are people here who already willingly walk around with a microchip in their hands, you know. So there's like this huge advanced, you know, tech society that is here, but at the same time there's this real nature connection. So it's such a funny thing. But the reason why we first didn't move to Finland was because I had this resistance to this modern techie society that Finland has become largely. And that's why we first moved to Spain for 5 years, because that's more closer to South American way. It's like family oriented, you know, things are kind of a bit messy and chaotic. And so we felt at home there until, yeah, then the call came to return to my roots and reclaim my identity, my cultural identity as well, and really like embrace my cultural heritage and come help revive this sacred original way here with my people in my motherland. So then we moved, yeah, after 12 years of me seeking and looking for the grass that is greener on the other side, coming back home, and it was the best decision. And yet it was perfect. Like that 12 years abroad, it was a perfect time to learn and grow. And then now bringing all that back and integrating it here in my motherland, it feels like a very sacred journey.
Amazing. How would you describe the moment of the call to go back to Finland? Like, what is it in the mind, the consciousness of like, what is this happening? How would you describe it?
Oh my God. That's such a great question, Yoshi. Yeah, this is the thing. So actually it started already, I would say maybe about 5 years before we moved here, I started feeling it. Every time we would fly back, so when we would visit Finland, in the airplane, about 3 to 4 hours before coming home, I would start feeling it, like feeling this surge of energy in the airplane. And then that would normally turn into some kind of a connection opening and me starting to get like poetry coming in. And it was always about my ancestry, about my like connection to the land. And I would be like crying, and I'd always have this like major like spiritual experience. And then seeing it from afar, you know, like flying up north, the colors are different in the air. The light is very different. And just seeing Finland like from the air, and if it was like snowy time, you have these ice crystals, and the sunset is just gorgeous. In the summertime, the sun doesn't really go down, so the light is very different. So always coming back north, I would just have these like major experiences in the airplane and just be like, ah, like crying. But still I was like, no, I don't, like I need to be doing my thing, my mission, whatever, elsewhere. And then it was actually, I think it was 2023 was when like the real like anchoring happened. And it was when my husband and I, we were visiting here, and we were doing a summer solstice gathering with my friends. So this is the night of the nightless night. This is the night when the day is the longest, the sun doesn't go down at all. And we were all sitting in a circle and singing and just connecting with the land. And that was the moment that I felt a bit like when you have two pieces of the magnet that just come together like this, like just this irresistible pull. And I just felt my whole, like the magnetic field of my body just like zipped with this earth. And I felt this feeling that this is the land that created me. Like this, my body is made from the cells of this soil, you know, like this is my home. And I really felt it, like such a sense of rootedness, that I realized like, oh my God, I've been somehow like holding myself half in the air for the last 10 plus years. And suddenly I felt this like, vroom, like everything landing. So that was when I knew. I was like, okay, I have to come back. Like I have to return here. I just felt it so strongly. And then after that, of course, I start having lots of dreams and visions of these trees. So like I would be in ceremony and all I'm seeing is like Finnish lakes. I'm seeing Finnish spruces and pine trees and Finnish animals. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Like I need to go home.
Nice. So
Yeah.
talk to me a little bit about the ancestry in Finland. How's that like? Because you're connected to the roots of South America, Peru, and
Yeah.
you kind of felt this rooting into Finland. What's the ancestry like? Because you want to bring about people connecting to nature, connecting to the ancestry of that land there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So that was another really interesting exploration, you know, because in Finland, this tribe, like the Finns, we are an ancient tribe, and we've been here inhabiting these northernmost parts of Europe for thousands of years. And our language, our origin story, is actually the oldest oral tradition alive on Earth.
no
So it's
way.
it's an
Wow.
ancient tribe. But very quickly in the last couple hundred years, you know, this what do you call it? Like the global kind of modernity, you know, like development suddenly came here, and we went through this major shift where a lot of like our peoples were like sages and singers. So we were poem singers is the name that you would call like the sage in Finland. And they would be carriers of song, and the song would have all the knowledge of the creation and everything, all the healing songs, all the different, like Ikaros, you know, in the Amazonian tradition. And we would work with the drum, the shamanic drum, and then the amanita mushroom. These were like very sacred for the Finns. But then when this foreign, you know, force came into this land, one of the first things they did actually is they burnt all the shamanic drums.
Wow.
And they went through this like forced conversion into Christianity, of course, which is what's been done to all indigenous tribes. And very quickly, this insomnia-like spiritual sickness has taken over, where suddenly we are like this tribe that has lost the memory of who they are. You know, like we've suddenly become clones of this Americanized modern human being, where we're seeking to do like the fastest internet in the world and like the highest tech whatever engagement in society. Everything's automated. And in just a matter of couple of generations, like maybe 5-6 generations, it's this total disconnect, like on a conscious level. But it's interesting when you're here and you walk around in the cities and the towns, it's not so like it hasn't left the people from their bodies. Like it's clearly still in their blood. Like Finns, when you're walking around, you realize that they're very grounded, and they're really like that. We don't have a word for meditation, but people just like do it. You see people just everywhere, just like sitting in silence, like by the lakes, you know, outside their saunas. This is a big thing in Finland, the sauna culture. And this used to be that the sacred temple. That's where people would be born. That's where people would be washed when when they have died, their bodies would be washed there. That's where people would be cleansed. There would be all kinds of sauna rituals with different branches of trees, with songs. People would be cleansed like
Cool.
ceremonially. So we have a lot of this still in one level in the way that the people live, but they don't consciously identify as that. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
definitely.
there's this kind of a split, you know, like there's this uber like modernistic, tech-driven, like Caucasian looking person, but inside is this like really deep reverence for nature. There's no littering here, like people don't throw trash on the streets. There's this like real love for nature that is evident when you're here. But the origins was this kind of, I guess you could say, kind of like the elven people or something. Like the oldest mention about Finns in these chronicles, I forget who was the author, but like the first visitors who came from Southern Europe and came to see Finns, they said these are people who live in the forest and they have no houses. They just live in the earth, like in some kind of caves and some kind of nests, you know, and they eat herbs. And they seem very happy. So we were some kind of nature roaming elven people, you know, who just like lived off the land. and we're carriers of song and healing traditions. So that's really like the root. And we have a name for the guardian of each. Let's say, like in the Amazonian tradition, you say everything has a mother. So you have the mother of this plant, you have the mother of this mountain. There's the kind of guardian, like overseeing steward spirit that comes with everything. We have the same worldview here in Finland. So there's a name for like the goddess of water, but also the male god of water, the goddess and god of thunder, goddess and god of forest. So each of elements and each different natural forces, they have this, what is called a guardian or a steward that people would pray to and communicate with in the olden times. So they actually link perfectly. And so I go to the Amazon to learn about their ways, and also to the Andes. I visited also Ecuador and the Shuar people. And then I come back home and I realize that I've been learning about my own roots. Like it's just, I couldn't access it here. But there, because it's still alive, I could have this revival in me learning about their culture, and then coming back here realizing, wow, this was what was taken from us. Like we had the same.
Amazing, Hermana. Thank you for sharing. It's funny and reminds me of a little bit about my story, and I think for many as well, that in order to appreciate our roots, our nature, we somehow need to go out there, and
Yeah.
and otherwise we don't realize the value and the importance of our own lands. And I'm mestizo, it's like from Spanish background, but my 4 or 5 generations uh, that I know of are Ecuadorian. And similar, I went to San Francisco when I was young, and I know you have a little bit about that story too. So that's amazing that somehow we connected there. Maybe we lived around the same time, and I was from 2000 to 2013, the year 2000 to 2013. So about 13 years I was there.
Wow.
So same thing. I was like having an awakening of life, and the connection to earth, and the awareness and consciousness in San Francisco, and learning permaculture and connecting there. Like, why am I learning all these things? And also like, what is, I was not gonna come to Ecuador. I was like done with Ecuador. Like somehow I became really San Franciscan. Then I'm like, no, I have to go back. I have to go back. I keep repeating in my mind. It's like I'm learning all this so I can take this information to Ecuador and kind of learning it. And funny enough, I ended up coming. I dropped everything. It took me a couple of years to sell everything, got rid of everything, and plan to come to Ecuador and learn again my roots, because I didn't know. I would live in San Francisco and people ask me, so how's Ecuador like? I'm like, I don't know. What do you want to know? How's the food? What can I tell you? So I didn't know much about Ecuador, and I came back and relearned everything again, and from the food, the ancestry, the people, the indigenous cultures, and connecting to the importance of life. And that blew my mind. Another phase of my life, I'm like, how disconnected we are with life, overall life. We're disconnected, and that disconnects us from ourselves. And then therefore we get sick. We get sick in many ways, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, because we're disconnected from our essence. So we go back to seeing how the systems of nature work, from the bugs to the birds to the trees and to the seeds, is like, oh, it makes sense now. It's like, oh, now I know what my role here is, and therefore we want to bring that forth to the new world that has become more tech and more separated from our essence. And so I appreciate the work that you're doing and bringing this wisdom that, of course, you have empowered from here in Peru and Ecuador, and then bring it to Finland, so Finland can remember their roots and empower them. And therefore, this work that you're doing is so important. Then it came about us as well. It's like, okay, the prophecies that used to, people talk about but never really applied, but now it's happening, and we can see the prophecy of the eagle and the condor, that is, flying together, coming into peace, coming into the awareness. You're bringing that also over there in your region, so that's amazing. That's important. Thank you for
I
that.
love that prophecy. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. The condor is the courage, like the South American amazing, like just strength, I really feel it there. And then the eagle is like the vision, the Nordic kind of, yeah, it's amazing how these two, that they are coming together, and each and every one of us, like it's also happening on an individual level, but then also culturally. And yeah, and what I also find interesting about the whole cultural revival thing is that for me, the best way to do that is through like internal discovery of what is the original human being. Like, of course, visiting these different lands and living alongside indigenous peoples was a great realization for me. But then I realized that their current state of being is not the original, like they're closer to it, but they've been influenced by many different things already too, like the presence of when the conquistadors would come over and they would leave some kind of marks of their culture, of course, or not. It's not really culture for me, but like their habits and their ways. And one of them for me is, for instance, the eating of animals. I really don't think like the original sacred human being that was created by the divine, I cannot see them picking up a weapon and taking the life of an animal. And I'm interested in going all the way back there, like to the Garden of Eden kind of human being. How can we resurrect that? Because if we're just reading about these books from a couple hundred years back, from Native Americans and whatnot, and they talk about, oh, they would hunt, they would do this. But then here and there, you will hear stories like, no, they didn't used to do that, actually. It was only when they were driven away from their lands, they were master gardeners. They knew how to work the land, and that they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't even wear feathers, apparently. A lot of the Native American tribes wouldn't even have any kind of animal hides. They used only plant fibers to make everything, and their homes were made from earth. And they would eat the beans and the squash and, the pumpkins. And so for me, it's like, wow, okay. Because coming back to North, a lot of people are saying, well, if you want to eat the natural way, then you're going to have to start eating animals. You're going to have to hunt, you're going to have to eat fish. And I've been questioning that, like, is there another way, actually, here, even in the North? And then I start finding that there are people who live here self-sufficiently and they don't eat animals, even in the North. There's so many mushrooms in the autumn time that you can dry and save for the winter. There's all different kinds of plants in the forest, all kinds of lichens and different kinds of roots that you can use. So even, I believe that a lot of these modern ideas of the indigenous people are also kind of skewed, and colored, and that there are influences that are not clean there. And one of them to me is this whole idea that in order to live in harmony with nature, then somehow we have to eat and kill animals. And yeah, I just don't see us that way. I see us more as the gardeners and like, yeah, eating from the plentiful plant kingdom which is just abundant with so much life, and so many different forms of medicine come out of there as well. Yeah, just wanted
It's
to put it out there.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for sharing. And I think it's an important topic and very delicate for a lot of people that don't want to go deep into this, and why it's important to open up to this topic in a way that it doesn't have to be resistance, but rather opening up to the possibilities. So I have two things to
Yeah,
say.
like curiosity, right? Like be
Exactly.
curious. Is there another way?
Yeah, these two aspects of this topic that I want to add is, back in the day, the first humans and however they used to do things were more of a collectors, right? Like scavengers. And eventually I see the possibility of people started to hunt because gardening became difficult. So as right now we live in a time of technology, right? We are the more we are connected to technology, the more we start also disconnecting from ourselves in a way, in our essence. So the same kind of, I see something similar happening in that time where, okay, the technology has allowed to hunt and save time to eat, satisfy. So basically, maybe in survival mode and in regions that are not as abundant with nature, but a little more desertified or difficult to plant, there will be some hunting. But then overall, over time, humans will realize, oh, hunting is actually beneficial because I save so much time just kill something and rather than planting or looking for plants and being satisfied. It's more of a benefit and convenience, right? And then now at this time, we want to question this because, and this is what has helped me. It's like maybe they used to eat animals before. Maybe eating animals can maybe be healthy in a certain aspect. Like maybe the honey is healthy, maybe the bone marrow from animals is healthy, or some animal fat may be healthy in a certain way. But the question is, how do you want to evolve? How do I want to evolve? Like, maybe it is healthy, but do I really need it just to satisfy my palate, or can I evolve differently? And is it possible to go a different path without harming animals, not going through the energy of killing? And there's this documentary that came out recently, it's Christspiracy. I don't know if you saw that one.
Yeah, that's amazing.
How would you spiritually kill an animal? How would Jesus kill an animal? And he was like, Jesus wouldn't kill an animal. Like, we all know that he's full of love. And when we talk about feel love, how can we lovingly kill an animal? And someone that has gone through killing an animal, I have myself killed an animal, is not nice at all. And so if someone goes through that experience, and I can see people numbing themselves in a way that they will continuously kill an animal, just numbing themselves. But and those that get paid to kill, right? How do you think those people sleep every night and feeling that energy, right? So I just want to throw it out there as a conversation to go about in each person that's to this, and we'll have the different perspectives of what is it to eat with animals or not, and therefore what is it the world that we want to create. And we were talking about living in harmony. We have the ability as humanity to help it thrive. What am I doing to create more life rather than destroying life? And how we can stop manipulating the lives of others to benefit humanity, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it is a really valid conversation, because a lot of times when we talk about reviving ancient culture and this kind of regenerative culture conversation, people can be afraid to go into the concrete, like, well, what does it actually look like? And it can stay as this like conceptual idea. But for me, I've really started to kind of consciously go towards like, what is the concrete matter of it? Like, can we talk about the practicalities? Because then it makes it more available and it makes it more reachable. We can actually make some kind of steps towards this kind of way of living. Whereas if we only keep on like the philosophical ideals and don't look at the concrete realities, then it can be very difficult to reach that or work towards that. I see that a lot in spirituality anyway. But so for me, the question about animals is important, because if all of us who wanted to live in more harmony with nature started hunting, then all wild mammals would perish very quickly, because there's not a lot left. Here in Finland, we have so much forest, but already a lot of the big mammals like the moose and the deer and the reindeer, they're being hunted down. And the consumption of meat, like the levels of how many animals people are eating every day. If we stopped buying from the supermarket and stopped farming animals and only ate the wild creatures of the wilderness, they would go extinct, probably in like a year's time. So I think it is like a valid question to really ponder that do we think that that's the way forward? Can we continue that way? Or is there like some more ancient way that we could recover of maybe eating fewer different things and focusing on what's available at the land, like what kind of actual forageable food plants we have, and then of course using the knowledge and the technology available to also grow food, grow our own mushrooms and grow our own alfalfa and all the beans and lentils and peas and everything. And then the knowledge of permaculture, of course, when you have these sister and brother plants that thrive and grow together, it is possible. So I think it's an interesting conversation, the whole food
Definitely.
piece to it.
Yeah, and adding this is the learning how to value everything, learning how to value life, the plants, the value of health, and a pattern that I'm seeing recently here in Ecuador. People are not cultivating plants, produce that we call it, because it doesn't pay enough and it's a lot of work. And the farmers rather have cattle. So people are not valuing the lettuces and the apples, the chard and the spinach and the rabano, which is radish, and the beets and the potatoes, and they're not valuing it as much as we would like it to be. So if you go to a supermarket, maybe 5% of the supermarket is fresh veggies. The rest is processed because it has a added value to it. So it's better for business. So if we start actually valuing the fresh fruit and veggies by actually paying to the farmers directly a good price, if they say, oh, give me a broccoli for $3, give them $5. Value their work, value the freshness and that is what we want to highlight in this regeneration, right? Regeneration is like how we can learn to value things in a better way. So just throwing it out there. Thank you.
Yeah. Totally. It's a holistic regeneration, also regeneration of gratitude towards all life, recognizing that everything is sacred, and then starting to live in this way. And it can feel like a foreign concept, in a world that is so fast paced and everything is instant gratification. But once you step more into the natural way of life and have to work a bit to get things, like maybe chop up some firewood or carry some water, then you start getting this real appreciation for things. And then the more you appreciate the things you have, the less you actually need. It's such a interesting, like, kind of cause and effect, how it works. The more you have appreciation, the less you actually need, because the little things you have fill you up.
And the less you need, the less you have to work for it.
Right? Yes.
Because we're chasing, I have to work so much, because I have to pay all this, because I need all this, basically. So we're busy working because we end up needing things. And so it's interesting, those patterns, right? I want to honor a lot of your work, and we can also talk for hours, but I also want to honor your time. And what I want to highlight here with the ancestry that we're talking about is the speech that you had. I listened to it yesterday again when we met in 2023 in the Greater Reset. And you're highlighting something important, which is happening with a lot of the basically products and needs that we're just mentioning, that the medicine from the ancestors, the ayahuasca, the peyote, even the psilocybin, is being misused and also becoming a conventional product, rather than keeping it as a ceremonial, ritualistic aspect of our existence, because they're super powered plants that help us tap into beyond this reality 3D that we know of, and connecting to the frequency of consciousness and in the old God that we can call the old one universe, infinite existence. And when we start manipulating this into a more conventional type of product, we completely disconnect from that. And I want us to highlight for those that are curious about psychedelics or are already into the psychedelic medicine, and how important it is to making sure that we respect and honor this medicine, and we continue with the traditional or ancestry of practicing this medicine if you need it, because we don't have to be coming to the ceremonies over and over again, because it has also becoming an addiction of like, why you keep coming? Oh, it's because, you know, I feel that I'm not. Why you keep coming? It's like there's something that is not aligned right there. So we want to make sure how to approach this in the most conscious way. And yeah, so share please a little bit about your speech that time, and how you can highlight the awareness and importance of how to respect and honor this medicine.
Yeah, thank you, Yoshi. It's a topic I'm very passionate about, and yeah, indeed, we could talk about this for a very long time. But to condense it, what made me do that speech is called Ceremony versus Psychiatry: Why Plant Medicines Must Be Kept in Their Original Ceremonial Context. That was the title for the speech. It's because I'm seeing that there's this influence coming from the West, once again, of industrialization of a sacred practice. And it's coming from the pharmaceutical industry. And a lot of these sacred master plants, teacher plants, or entheogenics, you could call them, you know, medicines that generate God within, that help you have a direct connection with the divine. These plants are being commodified. Cannabis is also one of them, of course, and we're already seeing what's happening with cannabis. You know, on the surface level, it could feel like we're celebrating that it's been decriminalized in many countries and it's been legalized. But then what is happening is at the wave, you know, like they are coming in, taking this plant and commodifying it. They're turning it into a profit-making scheme. And in the meantime, they are distilling the spirit out of this plant. You know, even if they are organically produced, they're being produced for profit. You know, there's an industry behind it. And then, let alone when you start genetically manipulating these different species, it then, like, the medicine starts to invert into something that is actually a poison. So then people are smoking cannabis and they're wondering why they're having paranoid hallucinations, and why their mental health is actually starting to decline, why they're suffering with addiction, why their life is going down the drain, is because they're no longer receiving the pure medicine, which is a very, very powerful medicine, cannabis, of this plant, because it should be taken in a ceremonial context. There should be a diet to prepare to commune with this plant in a spiritual way. There should be special prayers of protection for the space, so that, you know, when you open up your spiritual vessel, when you ingest this plant and you commune with this plant, that you're in a sacred container, so that when you open up, nothing else can jump in. Because what happens is, when you take an entheogenic or a psychedelic, you open your spiritual vessel, and it's a bit like putting a red light on in the spirit world and saying, hello, I'm here. And if you don't have a ceremonial space to protect you, you're wide open, and all manner of things can jump in. And we see this a lot in our practice, where people come in and they're filled with all kinds of attachments and energetic parasites, spiritual energies that are unclean, that are looking for a human body to have as their host. So this is a genuine thing. And people from the olden times in these original cultures, they all knew this, which is why there was a profession which was called either a curandero or a vegetalista or taita or shaman. There would be the sage, the healer, who knew the art of traversing to the spirit realm and back, knew how to create a sacred space so that when you travel with these plants, that you're safe, that your spiritual vessel remains intact and nothing else is coming in. This would be a bit like someone pretending to be a pilot and not knowing how to fly the plane, or someone who's pretending to be a surgeon and not know how to make the correct incision and perform a surgery. But these days we have a lot of these, like neo shamans who only have a superficial like idea of what it is to hold ceremony. And they may be dishing out products that they bought online that they don't even know how to cook themselves. They may be playing a CD instead of having gone through years of purification, celibacy, fasting, in order to get such a connection that you're actually given the songs from the spirit realms. And these are called Icaros. These are sacred songs of healing and prayer. And there's no shortcut to that. You don't get the song by listening to your maestro and copying, learning the words, and then regurgitating this. You receive the song yourself once you've been tested and gone through these initiations. So there is a sacred path of how to become initiated in this profession, which is age-old profession. That because there has been the Inquisition and the witch hunt and the massacres and genocides of all these wisdom carriers, these lineages are broken in many lands. And like here in Europe, they're almost extinct. So no wonder that people have no knowledge or no one to look up to in terms of how to hold medicine. How do you hold ceremony? How do you even like protect the space? Most people have not the slightest clue. And then you have this other influence, which I mentioned about, which is the bastardization of these plants through commodifying them, industrializing them. And then even in certain cases now, pharmaceutical industries coming in and they're starting to synthesize these plants and make their own like chemical version of these. They find these properties that they give them names. Oh, this is DMT, this is Harmala, this is Harmine. And they think that somehow encompasses the soul of this plant. It's just a material, very like, in a way, barbaric way to see life, where you split things into pieces, you give them some kind of strange scientific names, and you think that's what it is that you're communing with. No, it's not. It's a spirit. It's intact and it comes from the wholeness. So when you work with these sacred plants like ayahuasca, which is actually a combination of two plants which you cook together, this is that you meet the soul of this plant and you communicate with another intelligence, and it's an organic living intelligence. But when you synthesize these properties, these active ingredients into some kind of pharmaceutical pill, which they've already patented in Vancouver 2 years ago. There's already ayahuasca in pill form.
Wow.
You're communing with something completely else. And that energy that is inside this capsule is going to have pharmaceutical consciousness. It's going to be the consciousness of technology and laboratory. And so the kind of images that you're going to be receiving are more from this kind of machine elf realm, which is what a lot of people report when they take synthesized DMT, for instance. They don't go into God's creation and sacred geometry. They go into strange tech, garish colors and tech, machine consciousness. So there's a real danger also in there. What kind of substances are we allowing to program us? Because that's what happens. When you take a substance of natural intelligence in a sacred, ceremonial, protected space, this intelligence fuses with ours. We morph together in this communion. And then this natural divine intelligence begins to like write our brain in a new way. It begins to work on our senses. It begins to activate our own natural intelligence and wisdom. In a way, it's programming us, if we want to use like this kind of modern language. It's healing us, But then imagine when you take a pharmaceutical synthesized product, what intelligence is coming in through there? It's a dead material, pharmaceutical, distorted. And I wouldn't even call it intelligence because it's not alive. It's intellect. You know, it's a dead thing. So you allow that to come in and start reforming your consciousness.
There's
So that this is,
yeah,
yeah,
an analogy I want to share so it can be more comprehensive for somebody is that everything is energy, and energy accumulates throughout time through experience. And so an example of this can be a table. If I am gifted a table that someone built, like my uncle built a table, he's gonna give it to me. Say, hey, this table is built with this wood that I harvested in the farm of your grandpa, and it took me about 3 months to build. He's gonna give you this table to feed yourself when you have your lunch with your family. And then I have this table for a few years, and I have kids, and it's been the table of our family for years. And then I pass this table for my kid when he's getting older and he's moving out. It has a story. It has energy, rather than getting a table from IKEA or a corporation that is just a table. You know, there's no value that we actually take in from our consciousness through our generations or through our life or through nature. So it's a simple example of how energy can be passed on. Same thing with the food. Where the food come from? They want to ask, where is the food coming from when I'm going to take in? What farm? How is it produced? How is the food prepared? Which kitchen? What pots were used? And all this. Same thing, the medicine, even more the medicine. So
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Even how the medicine is made. This is a really big question, actually. Where is it harvested from? With what kind of energy and awareness? You know, is it a profiteering thing again? Is it like traditionally when medicine would be made, we're talking about ceremonial plants, they would also be made ceremonially. So like, for instance, when my husband and I, we have a piece of land in the jungle that we're stewards of, where we're also growing medicine plants. Whenever we prepare the medicine, we make sure that the cycle of the moon is correct for harvesting. We do it just before dawn when the medicine is the strongest in the plant. We ask for permissions. We bless the plants first with the sacred tobacco, which is the indigenous way always of giving thanks to the plants. You give them some sacred smoke. You harvest the plant, you prepare it, and you're in celibacy. You're in a diet, meaning you're fasting. You only have a couple of ingredients you eat, maybe just some fruits, just some oats. We're not communicating with anybody else. It's a completely sealed container. There's no internet, no phones, no electronics, no nothing, no electricity at all. Actually, we're in the forest with just fire and hammocks in this little hut. And we cook there for 1 week or 10 days. We're singing, we're praying. And this is the way the medicine is made. It's with such reverence and gratitude. And we know that whatever energy we are carrying is going to go into that medicine. So we have to be clean. And that's why we're celibate. That's why we're fasting. That's why we're bathing in the river every day and singing to clean ourselves so that we can imbue only the love into this brew that then we're going to serve to people. So imagine buying something online. You have no idea who made this, in which way, what kind of energies and spirits are already connected to this brew. So that there's like a big piece missing from this entire conversation when people say, oh, you should be able to have access to these plants easier. You shouldn't have to travel to here or there, or you shouldn't have to go to a retreat. You should just be able to pop this pill at home at your own convenience. But it's just, it's lacking the understanding of what these medicines are even for to begin with. Like we always say that when you go into ceremony, it's a training ground for life. It's not supposed to be comfortable. You're not supposed to be lying in some kind of cushioned bed with some therapist next to you, playing some CD, and then like you go through some journey and then you go and you continue your work the next day. You're supposed to first prepare for the ceremony already, like at least We normally recommend 2 weeks. You go on a diet to really prepare your vessel. You sacrifice a lot because you're preparing yourself for this journey. So you're leaving out, all kinds of animal products, alcohol, caffeine, sugar, salt, all spices. You're minimizing your time online and to take in any kind of news or reading or music. You're just trying to go back into yourself. And then you go through the ceremony and you sit up. You're not supposed to lie down. You sit up to face yourself. You're supposed to work on yourself and face your life. This is the indigenous way. And then there's going to be some purging involved because you're going to be purging out all this junk that we're carrying here in the West. And it's hard work. And then afterwards, there's a post diet where you are then letting the medicine and all the work to settle in. So there's still a period of celibacy afterwards. There's still things that you can have, just like a post care after a surgery. And it's a really serious thing. You go in with intention, only small group of people at a time, and you shouldn't be coming every month. Then there's something wrong, like you said. What's the reason? You should go in with a serious intention to work on. And then after, don't come back until you've integrated that. Don't return until you can actually say that I live by this now. I've now changed that habit, or I've now forgiven my mother or father, and I've worked on that relationship now. Then maybe there's time to come back for some new lessons and some new levels of purification and healing. But it shouldn't be a crutch that we just use. This is the Western mentality of just taking advantage and using everything. So we're supposed to do the work,
using it as an escape. It's like
yeah.
I'm just gonna go out there and just gonna take the medicine and kind of use it as an escape. And now that not only pills, they're offering like drops, like microdose drops with a whole program that you can read on, and today I'm gonna do this and take a drop, and today I'm gonna do this. So, and what you're talking about, I want to highlight that it's not necessarily the right way that it's supposed to be, because the ancestors used to do it like that. So I want to highlight that the ancestors knew that this is working because it's thousands of years of working. So it's not because we're doing it just because they did it, and
because it works.
Because it works. And now there's science that proves that this works, because we can prove that we're tapping into frequency, energy. So when we're singing to the plant, we're emanating an energy of love and gratitude to the plant, to the medicine, in which we take that back into ourselves. So that's proven with water, with plants, with energy, that our words, our thought and words and action are actually emanating that frequency to whatever's out that we're emanating to. If we bless the food when we eat it, not only the medicine, we bless and we give gratitude to the food we eat. We give him great thanks and be honoring and respecting anything that we do in our everyday life. We live in a ceremony way every day, and therefore resonate with everything around us, and we synchronize with the path to manifest whatever we want to manifest, because we're in alignment, we're in coherence, we're in a loving gratitude lifestyle. So the ceremony itself help us awaken to that, and you don't have to come back because you already live a ceremonial lifestyle. So we forget that. And another thing about the ayahuasca, these power plant medicines, is to take it when you can't handle yourself doing it on your own first. So preparing for a ceremony is going to tell you what you already know. Eat healthier, heal and confront your traumas, or stop your addictions. And it's going to tell you what you already know. And only then, when you already work on yourself hardly and deeply, and you still see that there's something that you need to work and you can't figure it out and stuff, then okay, come to take a ceremonial medicine and then we'll see what happens with intention, right? So
Right.
and then the medicine will help visualize what is it that you want to work on, but not necessarily is going to solve your problem. You still have to do the work after.
Yes.
And that's the integration part that's really important to keep in mind. It's not like you said, oh, just take it and go keep doing your work, go to your job, and it's all this that we want to be aware of. So yeah, that's when I
That's
highlight
it.
it.
It's a different paradigm. The pharmaceutical paradigm in any way is that you pop something to alleviate your symptoms. You take a quick fix. You don't have to do any kind of a diet. You can immediately go into the cabinet, take that white pill and just pop it in, and then go back to watching a movie or cycling your bike or whatever. Like there's no, okay, now I need to prepare my vessel for this medicine. I need to stop drinking coffee for 2 weeks. I need to go celibate. I need like, and what a difference. Like you're already working towards your healing. Whereas the pharmaceutical way is the quick fix, and it doesn't even show you what is the root cause. Whereas with these ceremonial medicines, the whole work is to see the cause, is to go into the root and then reconcile whatever that is. And oftentimes there's some kind of a conflict. Either there's an unhealed trauma that has not been recognized yet, or there's some kind of suffocated emotions that live in the body and have created like a genuine energetic block where you can't access certain aspects of your soul, even because there's like so much pent up rage or shame or something inside. Or it could be generational. You're carrying the war traumas of your ancestors. You know, there's so much that we carry, and that it's signaling itself through these different dysfunctions or diseases or pains in our lives. And the original indigenous way of medicine was to always realize that everything's happening for a reason. And we're never going to go and just try and numb this thing. We're not going to just go and try and quickly just ignore it and just shut it up. No, we go towards the pain. We go towards the signal, and even that we honor. This is the whole thing about the way of gratitude. It's an entire culture. So when there is a pain, okay, this is my teacher now. Let me listen to this pain. Where is this pain coming from? What is it telling me? And normally there's something, a message that we just have not wanted to hear. And the way that it finally lands is when we have a lot of pain in our lives. Then we're forced to listen, you know? And then with these ceremonial practices, we are held with the song and with the prayer so that it's not terrifying to go into these things. Yeah, it can be very difficult, but we can make it through. You know, we can finally face that trauma, the original wounding. We can go into the core of the family patterns, whatever is there that we're carrying. And with the help of these songs and prayers, we're able to reconcile them. We're able to ask for forgiveness. We're able to give forgiveness to others who've harmed us. We're able to have wisdom because we go into this more activated higher self consciousness with the help of these different mushrooms and plants. And suddenly, like with this grace of this wisdom, we're able to understand that, wait a minute, everything is making sense. Of course, this person did this because they were traumatized. Now I can see they come from that family line. This is why they were this way. Oh, this is why I did that to myself, is because I was trying to numb my pain. So I became an addict and I was hurting myself. And you get all this realization, and then you can finally have peace because your life is making sense. The events that you've gone through are making sense. Your family is making sense. And what is worth, like, is there anything that's worth more than peace? I don't think, I
No,
think that is everything, you know, peace is everything.
peace and love in the heart is when we come to a acceptance that everything that is for a reason. It's trusting the intelligence of the existence, and that's the beauty of it. How to learn how to tap into that, and I'm grateful that I have learned, and I'm still learning. But I'm so amazed how my path is, and I resonate with your path, and how we have come together, and honoring life, and the regeneration of all existence. So I'm grateful for that, Thank you for everything you shared. I think this is a deep conversation for a lot of people that are curious about or already in the psychedelic medicine movement, that we want to highlight the importance of honoring and respecting this medicine always, and not take it as a conventional, temporarily small dose type thing, and actually,
Mhm.
not make it like make it like a business to value it that way, but rather honoring it
Mhm.
as a reciprocity. If someone is offering this medicine the right way, which is the way we just talked about, we believe is in seeing the importance of it, then there is a reciprocity of honoring that with either money or any type of other economy that allows the continuance of this service. And therefore, we also are not focusing on that. As you know, you have other projects, you have other services. I love the project that you have done of peace that you invite us to be part of. I'm so grateful for that. And us as well, we offering experiences without the medicine, and honoring other ways how to tap into the inner power and the healing, that the medicine is there but is not there. Is as if it was, but there's ways how we can do it, and if needed, then we can take a ceremonial appointment. I don't want to call it appointment, but a session, and we can do that. So yeah, I appreciate this conversation, and uh, to close our circle here, would like to share a little bit about Dawn of Peace and other of your projects that you have lately.
Yeah, sure. Well, Dawn of Peace is going through a reform, and I'm so happy that you're a part of that, Yoshi, and also your wife, Paula. So this is something that I kind of gave birth to in 2019 after many, many years of activism and struggling with this feeling that there are all different camps that are fighting for some kind of really important cause, but they're not coming together. Like I was part of the refugee movement. I was part of, like helping the homeless. I was like in animal rights movement. Then I got into medical freedom and, indigenous medicine, natural medicine. And
Police
then
freedom,
that
police freedom, or freedom police.
police for freedom, yeah, exactly, food, everything, but I realized that all these things are connected at the root, and that it has to be spiritual. So a lot of the activist movements, they're actually lacking the spiritual foundation, and they're wondering why there's so much evil in the world, or they maybe don't even recognize it as evil, because evil is a spiritual thing. They recognize it as greed or stupidity or racism or something like this, but they don't understand that at the core of it is it's a spiritual sickness. And it's largely to do with what we opened this discussion, which is that we've forgotten who we are, and that we've lost our roots, we've lost our cultural identity, our heritage, as guardians of this incredible paradise. So from this place of disconnection and uprootedness and loss of self, we've just gotten totally confused, and are like fighting amongst our sisters and brothers, and it just the level of insanity that is taking place on earth is truly obscene to me. So Dawn of Peace was a mission of somehow gathering all of this together and helping people to see that all of these issues that our world has, that people are struggling with, they have the common root, and it's to do with not knowing who you are and not knowing the law which has been given to us, natural law. So that was the kind of mission, is to create a collective of peacemakers who have an understanding of life that is spiritual, who may be an actual example of how to live on this earth in harmony in everything they do, by the way they communicate, the work that they do in the world, the kind of relationships they weave, just who they are as a being. A bit like in the ancient time, we had these mystery schools of people like Pythagoras, who had his students, and they all learned like how to carry the mystical arts and the knowledge, and they would go to places and people would bring them issues to solve. They would be the mediators, the peacemakers. And I have this crazy dream that I think we can revive this. I think we can find the modern day Pythagoras and the modern day, Essenes, peacemakers and healers, and that it's not too late, that humanity hasn't gone like completely beyond the state of repair. So this was really my calling, is to bring together activists who operate from a place of love and peace instead of hatred and revenge and just
Judging.
causing more polarity, because I see this a lot in the activist scene. So
Definitely.
that's what really Dawn of Peace is. It's just a gathering of peacemakers. And I hope that now that we have this new place, we can actually hold like a little festival here, Dawn of Peace Festival, and help bring this message of peace and natural law into the world, and really share and exchange our knowledge and our gifts. So that's a really big love child of mine. It's been a little bit on like the back burner with everything, with moving to Finland, but I feel like it's having a resurrection too. And I would love to include more the indigenous perspective and the cultural revival perspective into it also. And of course, then there's the project in Finland, the Kotiinpaluuheimo, which is the homecoming tribe. And this is our association of people who are wanting to build a natural parallel society here in Finland. And we are now, I think, 1,020 members. We're 2
Wow.
years old. We just turned 2 on the 1st of July.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a big project that I'm involved with. And these days I really love just to build. I feel like I've done enough of the protesting and street actions, and now I'm just like super keen to be in the energy of creation and building community, calling people together, do my best to really just support as many people as I can in terms of their own dreams and visions, and be an example of that as well, of course, by bringing my own dreams to life. And then hoping that will inspire everyone to know that, hey, I'm a creator being. And I have immense sources and I have immense support if I just give in to that energy of reciprocity, which you so beautifully spoke of. And then, whatever we give sincerely will be given back to us. And you never have to worry about money. You'll always be taken care of. Because if you walk from the goodness of your heart, there will always be people who will come your way, and you will have work, and you'll make it. You'll get to thrive actually on
Exactly.
that path of the heart. Yeah.
Yes, walking with the heart, with love, with coherence of like thinking, talking, and walking in coherence allows to that
Yes.
simplicity
Aligned.
to align the simplicity of also the abundance and the prosperity. So definitely. Yay, thank you, Hermano, for sharing everything. With this, I want to invite you also to our group that I'm going to be launching soon. Is Regenerative Leadership. It's
Wow.
so a group of leaders that will practice self-governance or sociocracy, and with that, we will learn how to collaborate, make decisions, but also a platform where we can help upcoming leaders and provide uh, free resources or free workshops, but also offering some paid reciprocity aspect of it, like more they want to go deeper to become a leader, and they're connected to what you're doing and the way you're doing it. So then you can offer a program, a course, some of it free, some of it paid, depending on what is it that you're offering and how. So we will all share this platform. And yes, just you're a great leader, and we would love to have you, and I would love to invite you.
Oh, thank you. I'd love to join.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for considering, and we can talk more about it. And so thank you everyone for joining today here at the Regenerative Culture Podcast. I don't know if you can hear the wild turkeys from here in the nature. Has been loud here. They come once in a while. It's not like this all the time, but they're definitely loving to have like this wildness around and feeling the energy of life. And thank you everyone for connecting. If you have any questions, please let us know. If you want to connect with us, please let us know. All the websites all there you can find. And if you want to collaborate as well, it's always open. Thank you so much. Peace, love, and prosperity to all. Yay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.